Hi, my name is Richard Posner and I'm the president of FogClean Company and Dust Solutions Inc. Today we're going to talk about our new product, the FogClean Pro. The FogClean Pro is a product that we've invented to sanitize areas in short term by using small droplet sizes below 10 micron in size to effectively fill an area in a quicker time using less sanitation or disinfectant solution, while at the same time providing the opportunity to capture airborne viruses, bacteria, mold capture, and at the same time as well impact all of your touch points without necessarily leaving residue on different areas. So we're going to demonstrate how to use the FogClean Pro today and effectively sanitize an area and what issues that you should be paying attention to while using the unit. So the first thing is the unit will come in three different pieces when it arrives in the box. One will be your pressure tank, which you will use to fill with your solution or disinfectant. The other will be your control box, which on one side will have your control gauges and on the other side have the opening. And the final piece will be your nozzle gun adapter, which will be used to actually spray the disinfectant. So the first thing we do is we use the tank and we fill this with the solution or disinfectant of our choice. And so in this case what we would do is potentially either remove the tubes into the fittings to then bring this over to an area where you would like to fill it up, or you can pour the solution directly into the tank. By removing the top, you remove the top, there's an O-ring seal on that, and then you'll put that down. And in this case, I'm going to fill that in the sink. We fill the tank, we put the top back on, making sure that the O-ring seals the tank shut. And then if we have removed those pieces, we push those back into their fittings. Air is the slightly larger tube, water being the slightly smaller tube, or solution or disinfectant. Now importantly, we want to make sure that we've turned off this valve, making it perpendicular to the air entry to allow us to control how the tank gets pressurized, and also controlling the entry of the air into the system. The next thing we'll do is we'll open the box, and inside the box you will have your nozzle tip. So the nozzle tip is one of the most important pieces and is actually the ultrasonic dry fog nozzle that creates the small droplets. And it is a little bit fragile on the tip, so you want to make sure you handle this with care. But we can remove the tip, and you'll see it's a stainless steel tip. And on this stainless steel tip will be two O-ring seals in rubber. And what you'll do is you'll take off the red cap from the inside of the nozzle adapter, and then you'll take the nozzle and place it into there, pushing in until it seats into the first O-ring. And then you will, by hand, twist the nozzle until the second O-ring touches the adapter and can be tightened no longer. Now the nozzle is ready to be used. So the next step we'll do is we'll take our air connection, and our air connection will get connected into this quick fitting on the tank. Again, I have the valve off, so no air yet has entered into the system. Now I want to let the air pressurize the tank. So what I do is I slowly open that valve, pressurizing the internals of the tank. Now the system is pressurized and ready to be used. So before I turn this on, because it will create a little bit of sound, we'll talk about the control panel itself. On the top of the control panel are two orange switches, both in a perpendicular configuration. One is for air and one is for the disinfectant solution. It's important to always turn on the air first and turn on the solution disinfectant second to make sure that you are atomizing before you spray out of the nozzle. And conversely, to turn off the solution first and then turn off the air secondly. The regulators are push style regulators, And so basically all you do is you pull the regulator out and you adjust it clockwise. And while adjusting it clockwise, it will increase the pressure, counterclockwise to decrease the pressure, and then push that back in when set. When you want to change that again, you pull it back out and then can adjust the regulator clockwise or counterclockwise. We do list on this, you are recommended to have an air pressure between 70 and 80 psi. 80 psi if you'd like it to be a little bit more forward projection out of the nozzle. 70 psi if you want a little bit less projection out of the nozzle. And then your solution pressure would be anywhere between 5 and 15 psi. 5 being a much drier, less solution coming out of the nozzle, and then 15 would be a much thicker, more solution coming out of the nozzle with a little bit larger droplet size, which could create some moisture buildup or disinfectant buildup around the area. So if you want to leave a very minimal or no residue, you would be more down towards the 5 psi on your solution. And if you'd like to leave residue or make sure that the solution is leaving a residue around the area, you'll be much more up towards the 15 psi to 20 even psi on the solution. And that'll be using more solution as you go on. So in order to turn on the system, we first will turn on the air valve, adjust that pressure setting to about 70 to 80 psi, and then turn on the solution valve, turning that parallel, and then adjust the pressure on the solution between 5 and 15 psi. In this, I will show you what the difference is. I'll start at 5 psi. You'll be able to see the fog being generated at 5 psi, and then we'll go up to 15 psi so you can see the difference between the fog at the 15 psi to get a concept of what we're talking about from a fog perspective. PSI. $15 PSI. Again, we've turned off the solution first, then turned off the air to make sure that the solution doesn't come out of the nozzle non-atomized. Now, once we're done with the system, it's important to remove the nozzle. You don't have to remove the nozzle, but for a safety perspective from the nozzle itself and keeping the nozzle protected, I would recommend to remove the nozzle, put the nozzle back in the protective cap. And then to turn off the system, very simply, we are going to turn this valve again perpendicular on the tank and remove our air connection. However, at this point, everything is still pressurized. So in order to remove the pressure from the system, we can either bleed it out of the actual air tank itself, or if you wanted to, you can bleed it out of the air valve on the nozzle, although it's slightly easier to do it out of the air valve on the tank. Once we've done that, the system is completely depressurized and then can be put back in its tank.